Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard to TQ Non-Profit Digital Voyage, a show where we talk about tech, social, and public good, and how you can get involved. I'm your host, Sabrina, and I hope everyone can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. If you're ready, let's set sail. And now, on to our episode. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of TQ Non-Profit Digital Voyage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and I'm here today with our guest, Michael Cheah, Executive Director of HealthServe. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining the conversation today. So before we begin, I would love to pass the floor to you for you to introduce yourself to our listeners, especially with your background in volunteering and your work with nonprofits. Go ahead.
Thanks, Sabrina. Hi, I'm Michael. So I'm the Executive Director of HealthServe. As what Sabrina said, I've been with HealthServe as the ED for about 4.5 years, but I've volunteered in HealthServe since 2010. So it's been nearly 12 years now. I'm really passionate about marginalised community. I've actually been volunteering in all other organizations as well. Even today, even though I'm working in HealthServe, I still volunteer in other organizations. Really, the idea is to really bring the community back together to really be able to have an inclusive society. So that's my passion. That's what I've been doing, and at HealthServe currently I'm the executive director supporting the migrant worker community.
Thank you for that. I'm interested to ask, this is only because, just out of curiosity, based on our interviews with previous executive directors and other guests, did you have a background outside of like volunteering in nonprofits prior to entering the world of nonprofits and volunteering?
Oh yeah, actually. Well, I actually started my career as an engineer. So I
see.
Some MNCs for a few years, did innovations and planning, and then realized that I could do a little bit more with project management. So I went to sales after that, and I did sales for nearly 12 years for the last 12 years of my career. So it was more towards technical implementation as well as sales. Very much into business development, nothing related to nonprofits.
I see.
I think for me, what changed was that you reach a point where you ask is there more than this?
Okay. So tell us more about HealthServe. I guess to segue from that, why did you choose HealthServe, and tell us more about HealthServe's history and also the mission of the organization.
HealthServe is an awesome place, so yeah, selling koyo. But I know HealthServe for a long time. I know the co-founder, right? And I've always had passion with the marginalized community, so it was no-brainer for me to just be involved. I remember my very first time volunteering, all I did was just serve a cup of water to one of the migrant workers who were injured, and then just sat down and listened to his story. And I thought, wow, this is so powerful, what they do. So I started volunteering with them since, right? Why did I join HealthServe? Well, I guess because the founder asked me to join, so I did. So I was invited to just come in. I didn't really have any intention of being the ED. I just wanted to do whatever that was available, but there was a need for an ED at the point of time, so I came in to do so. Because I used to run business units. I was a regional head for the sales and running organizations and in multinational companies. So it was kind of something quite similar, yet very unfamiliar. So I thought that I could just come in and see what I can offer, and therefore that's why I came in. And what HealthServe has been doing and been doing really well was really focusing on the marginalized communities and serving migrant worker community. So we started off as a small clinic, and the clinic just provides, the care, medical care for migrant worker communities. And we realized that there are so much that the migrant worker face, the challenges that they have, and then therefore we expanded. So from a small clinic, we added, casework, support, financial aids, and with that, we realized as well that there's so much that we need to be looking into. And so back in 2018, we were reviewing what is it like for a migrant worker to live here? What are the challenges they face? And we also realized that as a migrant worker, when they come over to Singapore, they face all forms of settling into Singapore, adjusting to the new environment, adjusting to work, understanding the culture, understanding a totally different life, being away from family, being away from their home country, being away from normalcy. And how stressful that can be for any single person, right? And then living in a home where you have land to a crowded space where you share rooms with maybe 12 or 16 or 20 people. So with men whom you do not even know. And so we thought, okay, the emotional and mental well-being was critical aspect as well. So in 2018, 2019, we also added on mental health and counseling. And as many of us know, we went through the pandemic in 2020, and we realized that that we still need to help, to give an avenue of help for workers, and therefore we started the crisis hotline, a 24-hour crisis hotline. So through the years, from the point where we started off with just a clinic, and then we added on the casework, we added financial assistance, where we do a lot of engagements with the workers, a lot of outreach events, to then including a mental health program, to include counseling program, to include 24-hour helpline. And of recent as well, we realized that, we should not wait for people to fall ill and wait for them to reach out to us, because it may be too late. And now we are looking into what does it mean to provide preventive care. How do we care for them before they even fall ill, or before they even get into where they reach a situation where they need help. And so now we are looking towards preventive models. Still learning, still growing, still thinking about how can we do this better. So this in a nutshell, both of HealthServe and what we do. So our desire is really every single migrant worker that comes to Singapore gets to live a life, well, and then obviously have the ability to, live with dignity. And we desire for a place where Singapore is a welcoming place for migrant workers, that they can actually work, live here, contribute, and then also be celebrated as well. So that's in a nutshell who HealthServe is and what we aspire to do.
So tell me more about the services that you provide. You say you have medical help. You also have mental help in terms of like counseling services, right? And you also have like other social help that I read on your website. Do you mind elaborating more on that?
Well, for the social health, we what we do is, example, we do a lot of community engagements. What we found was that, the majority of the people really miss home, and they try to form communities within the community while in Singapore. In the social structure, we try to allow them to see beyond just work and dormitories and maybe a place where you buy your groceries and just a little corner where you speak with your cousins or your brothers or whatever it is, or whoever it is, in in Singapore, we wanted to bring a social inclusion for all the workers to be able to also see who Singapore is. I think that's what we do. So we do quite a bit of outreach work. We do quite a bit of engagement. That was pre-COVID. Currently now, after gone through COVID, our outreach engagement have slightly. We now do a lot of social element in terms of health screening. We do quite a bit of this engagements with the workers and all these things. Sabrina, I just remember something. Actually, in our social, one of the examples I can give is that cooking. I think that was the most brilliant thing that came out of the social work.
Cooking?
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is we got the workers to teach some of our local aunties how to cook their biryani, the special biryani that we can only find, in Bangladesh or in India, right?
Wow.
And our aunties taught them how to cook our style of curry and different kinds of fried rice, the kind of food. And with the Chinese workers, they actually taught us how to make dumplings, 饺子. They taught us the different kind of fillings, the different kind of ingredients. So this kind of community work effort that we do, and what the end desire for this is really a bonding, inclusive society where we really learn about the different cultures. Just understanding as well, the smallness of things, like, why is salt so important to you? Why is, and why do you use ingredients and things like that? So it was a very interesting thing. So that's something which we do as part of our social work. Yeah.
So talking about the pandemic, right? You said that engagement has slanted a bit. Tell me more about how the pandemic impacted your service delivery, because from what I read, I understand that you had several like clinic locations, but they have been closed during the lockdown, right? And now you have one clinic left, which is in Geylang.
Yeah. So we when circuit breaker happened, actually it started even way earlier. For us, it was Dawson Orange, 7th of February. I recall the date really clearly, where very very much a volunteer-based organization. A lot of our volunteers come from the medical professionals, the schools, the tertiary education students, and corporates, right? And when Dawson Orange happened, we lost about 95% of our medical volunteers. So we decided that we still need to open. So we decided to pivot everything to just Geylang. We put all our resources into just Geylang, and we remain skeletal crew and open as best as we could. And then therefore we closed our Mandai clinic as well as our Jalan Prapan clinic. And halfway through, we realized too that a lot of the medical doctors really want to serve. It's just that they were not allowed to come on site to see. So what we did was where the doctors will dial in, we use Zoom, and they will check, and the workers will come to our clinic, and we will get medical students to come and support. So the medical students will be on site. The doctors home, and then they will do the prognosis and diagnosis. They'll do they'll check on the workers, and the person who can support the doctors who's on the other side, by ensuring the BPs are correct, ensuring that some of the if there are any lumps or anything like that, just those checks and all this kind of thing. And we pivoted with that, and we ran with that. So we had like 4 to 5 doctors that can do this virtually at their home, and then on our side, we've got medical students who come on site to help us to run. We get medical students to help on our dispense nursing, or pharmacy students, or people. So the community just came in. It was a very difficult time because we didn't really have a lot of resources, but we did. We tried to think on our feet, and so that's what we did. So we actually managed to keep our clinic and managed to actually support the workers through this. And when circuit breaker started, that was when HealthServe really changed our areas where we supported as well. That was when we realized that we needed to go into the dormitories, we needed to go into the recovery facilities, we needed to be in the hospitals, and we actually from there decided to spread ourselves into different areas. And that was when HealthServe, how we contributed to the areas where we were part of, was that we actually explained to a lot of the stakeholders on the ground about the cultural context, the language, the fears, the concerns. What does a worker, what do they really need? If they are not responsive, it's not because they don't want to be. Sometimes they really don't understand what you're saying. They may be just not emotive, but they don't really know what you're asking. And how do you communicate? How do you bring out, we started bringing in volunteers that speak the language to be able to communicate with them, to be able to encourage the workers on site. So that was all the things that we did during that time. So from a clinic, medical clinic perspective, we closed 2 of our clinics because we don't have the number of resources, and we came to Geylang. And then when circuit breaker happened in April, we reduced our capacity even further for Geylang clinic because workers were just not allowed to come out, and we actually went out every single where the workers were. And so that was what we did during the pandemic, and how we shifted and being as agile as we could be during this pandemic thing.
I'm interested with that system that you had with the telehealth services, because when I was reading about it, I was like, I was confused as to how you could help like remotely. So it's interesting to hear about how you have the medical students to assist. How do you come up with like that system? Who suggested it, and how effective was it for the telehealth service?
Well, we were quite blessed. We had a medical doctor, Dr. Benjamin Kwan, who joined us as who is actually the deputy ED and the head of medical services. He, together with Dr. Jeremy Lim, who is our vice chairman, actually came up with such an idea. And I think MOH gave us the support almost immediately as well. So I think that was how we just started, and how effective is it? It's relatively effective actually. It's been good. We in fact continued this telehealth system only up to recently that we actually recently we went back from endemic model back down to the Toscan yellow, I think, right? Only recently they stopped this telehealth system. The only downside or the drawback is that sometimes the workers feel a little bit uncomfortable talking to a doctor who's on the other side, seeing just a screen and a computer.
But, I see.
We just try to allay the concern by having at least a medical student beside them. They are learning more and more about it. They are starting to accept it a little bit more. But it doesn't mean that if you give them a preference, they will still prefer to speak to someone face to face, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's interesting. I definitely didn't expect that. So let's talk about the HealthServe helpline, because it's one of the services that came out of the pandemic as well, right? As a product of digitally transforming your services. I'd like to hear more about the inception of the helpline, and especially about the pros and cons of the services that you've discovered so far.
Well, we started the helpline because we saw a great need. The great need was because there were a lot of workers, they were confused, they were not sure about what to do. They don't really know where to get help, and that during that point of time, they were still under severe lockdown, right? And they were not able to go out. So what we did was we decided to have this crisis helpline. And the crisis helpline that we do is not just a mobile phone. It's not just one person carrying a phone, which everyone thought it was. It was really a system that we created. It's actually developed together with Thundercode, in that we have a case management system. We allow people to log in to write the case notes and to also understand, do we see any trends of the concerns on the ground, right? And to also enable staff and volunteers to be able to work simultaneously. So we actually did this cloud-based telephony system. I think we were probably the rare few, in fact, if not the first few, to really do this system. It's really very new. We enable every single volunteers to be able to volunteer from home or anywhere in the world, in fact, as long as they have a laptop and a Wi-Fi. And so how does this work? When the worker calls us in call system, then our team member and the volunteers, they will answer the call through the mobile phone, through the laptop. How effective has it been? It has done really well for workers who are really confused during the point of time. Their anxieties generally stems on the health. When they catch COVID, what to do, how to do, what happens to me, where do I go from here, where do I get my results? They're just anxious to know, and I think they just don't know where to find it. So I think those are the things that they call us for. We started the helpline because we also know that the self-harm and suicide rates in Singapore was relatively high amongst migrant workers, and we really want to be an avenue of help, be in a place where they can actually seek help should they need to speak to somebody. So I think to answer the question of how effective it has been, if you go and ask currently, we have actually heard of workers to call us and to thank us for just being available, being present, being a resource for them to understand what happens and where to go. I think that kind of makes our day, right? I think that actually the helpliners, the team members, and everyone else were just there when they just needed someone to talk to. So yeah.
What do you think, the pros and the cons of the system, as opposed to a face-to-face where they reach out to you for help at the clinic itself?
Yeah. So obviously the pros is that they can just call us any time of the day, be it at night or 6-7 a.m. where majority of our calls comes in, and not needing to wait the next day. The challenge is that through every phone call, and sometimes you can't see the other person on the other side, and you don't really know how is he responding to the situation, circumstances that he's facing. So you need to really ask the right questions. You need to listen very well. You need to be able to understand or try to comprehend what the person is going through, and just be available, right? So that's the downside of every crisis helpline phone or support that you provide. I think if I were to be able to have a wish, it would really be that we allow a crisis helpline. Having a crisis helpline will enable the the relationship to be formed and built, and then allowing the worker to then come to our center to then meet us face to face, where we can actually speak to them, and build this relationship and build a community. So I wish we would not just end there, where it's like just give you an out to you, but actually my desire is that if I could just bring it a little bit further, bring them in, get them into a community, develop this relationship.
I was also, I think a question just came to mind, like, because you deal with migrant workers, I'm sure there are sometimes issues about like language barriers, how do you overcome that, or has that not been like a big issue with like helping them?
Yeah, it's still a big issue, Sabrina. But we try to get people who speak the language. So in HealthServe, I was just telling people we are one of the most, our team members. We have people from Bangladesh, we have people from India, we have people from Philippines, we have people from Vietnam, we have Malaysians, we have Singaporeans. We have people who speak Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, Bengali, Vietnamese, Burmese. We actually have people who speak Burmese. We have people who speak Thai, Mandarin, obviously, and so it's quite diverse. We have our youngest team member is 27 years old. Our oldest team member is 68 years old.
Oh wow!
Mix of an equal mix actually of guys and girls in our team. So we believe in real great diversity, and I believe in diversity, and I believe that it is in this inclusivity and being diverse we are able to serve the community better, especially the migrant workers, because the migrant workers come from very diverse background as well. Just because they're from India doesn't mean they understand one another from India as well, right? So we know there are such things, and we try to be available for them for that. And if at any point of time our team members are not available, we actually get volunteers that speak the language, they understand the culture, they understand the context of what the person is telling us, speaking about, and we engage volunteers who are able and available. And the last, usually this is what we do. We try to find mediums that cuts across languages. So example, we've been using example art, sports, music as the different medium channels to be able to just engage, speak, and build relationship, because these are the different channels that we can actually reach out to the workers, right? So we try all means as best as we can to engage, and we know for a very fact that the workers try their very hardest as well.
I think another another concern, I'm sure, about digitalizing your services was that you must have expected some form of digital divide, right? Because I guess accessibility to digital devices might be more limited among migrant workers as opposed to a typical Singaporean. So how did that affect your digital transformation and your changes in service delivery?
Yeah. Because of the pandemic, every single migrant worker will need to have a smartphone, because they need to have an app called FWMOM Care app and the SG Work Pass. So they need to download both apps to be able to just move around Singapore and work in Singapore.
I see.
Kind of enable us to reach out to them through digital means, right? The challenge is really to know what the worker, how they receive information with using their mobile phones. Some really just use it as a tool to get to where they want. Some really use it to watch videos all the time. Some really use it to really engage with the families. So digital transformation among the migrant workers, they're adopting it really very fast. They're in fact adopting it really well. For our challenge is really trying to engage and reach them, because as you know, in every digital strategy, I came from an engineering background. The connectivity and just getting the people to understand the usability as well as the need and wants is one of the hardest things. So I don't think it is difficult to get digital transformation amongst the migrant workers. It may take more effort in terms of educating them on specific digital programs or app or the needs of certain things. It's actually a lot harder to just try to get them excited about the engagement in the app that we want to introduce. If that makes sense.
Okay. So I can't help but notice that when I was researching about the migrant workers in Singapore, is that during the pandemic they faced even more stigma against them, especially because migrant workers make up a majority of the COVID cases in Singapore, right? I wonder, how did that affect your mission in bridging communities together?
The pandemic brought out quite a few things, the best and worst of people, I think. But one of the silver lining is that everyone started to realize that that the challenges that the migrant worker face are just so different from what Singaporeans face. And it actually brought awareness about, wow, some of the living conditions are really very not what Singaporeans imagine it to be, right? I think all is good, it's over the head. And then, so I guess the positive thing that came out from it is that most people in Singapore feels that something needs to be done, and they should not be allowed to continue living like this, or not having the rights as a person. And I think the general consensus is everyone said that something needs to be done. I guess the challenge right now is how much and how far. And I guess that's where we continue to come in, right? Because the changes that is starting to work, the implementations of policies and all those things are really moving in the right direction. Those are really wonderful things. With the Ministry of Manpower forming ACE Medical, having the new 6-sector medical clinics just for the migrant communities, creating a lot of the emphasis on their mental well-being count too. And that also, the living conditions should be looked into, evaluated, the safety and all those things. So those are really wonderful things from the government's movement. I think can be, whether we should continue to advocate for our communities, more of them to come alongside and to really embrace the changes that we really want to see together. What do we see as a future Singapore? How do we see an inclusive Singapore look like, where the people, the communities, and everyone sharing the same space and being able to respect each other's space, even though it's, I know Singapore is small, but there are always places that we can always share. Those are the things and thoughts that I have. Stigmatization, in terms of pre-COVID, I think people really feel that migrant workers are separate from Singapore totally. if you go into the bus, you see migrant workers coming into the bus, you can see the people just try to shut them away. They move away, they don't want to be. I've had friends who say they're just so smelly all the time, I don't want to engage them, they're always sparring all the time. But what can you expect? A person who works under the sun, under construction, hard labor,
Yeah.
it won't smell nice when they come to hard day's work. But those are work that is necessary, right? And then how do we allow community then to realize that, hey, they are really part of the community. They are really part of building Singapore. They are really part of the fabric that shapes Singapore. So these are the. I think we are moving there. Do I wish that it can move faster? Yes. Do I see resistance? I do on some level. But I'm an optimist. I'm always an optimist, and I believe that the work continues, and so we continue to just champion what we believe that is the right thing. A more inclusive Singapore, society that really embraces one another, and really see the strength of each other's presence being in Singapore.
That's very inspirational. Thank you for that. So what are some potential projects or like collaborations that maybe you and HealthServe are looking forward to in the future, I wonder?
Yeah, we are, as we mentioned, we really want to build a society, right? So we trying to do training. We are trying to equip some of the workers about some skill sets, and projects on that. So we call them support leaders. But I just realized that, rather than just training the workers, the best way of allowing them to really develop their skills is to really have them being exposed to the communities, and that's where I think they can value add to Singaporeans as well. So we're trying to do some pilot programs about how do we build a resilient community, a mixture between migrant workers and Singaporeans. Example, having a shared garden space. We spoke about this quite a fair bit. We did very small pilot projects here and there. We are hoping to start something with a dormitory where they have a lot of land near the northeast part region of Singapore, and then they have the part where they can, where the community can do their, gardening, and the workers can also share their skill set, because most of them are gardeners back home. They know what plantation really looks like at that very different level, and how do you work and grow together and be a support and a leader of such things together. So these are the small projects that we're starting, and as you can see, it's a very, very community. The second one we're looking into is really, not wanting to out of COVID-19 pandemic, we realized that the migrant workers actually have two other areas of concern from us. One is the oral hygiene, second of the migrant workers. So we continue to pursue this. We want to provide affordable dental care for the migrant workers. Today, our dental clinic, have a 4 months wait list just to see the migrant workers, to support them onto their dental care. So we are looking to whether we can expand something, the medical clinic, to allow more workers to be treated and helped. Second one is on the chronic disease that the workers, some of them suffers from some chronic disease, while because of their lifestyle and living here and working here. And so how do you provide such treatment? How do you provide some care? Those are the things that we are looking into. We realize that it's not easy for them to come to us because they're always working, they're always busy. So we wish to be able to go to them. We wanted to bring volunteers who are willing to come alongside to just go to their dormitories to see that they're okay, make sure that they're taking their meds, having a call with their doctors to make sure that everything's fine and things like that. So that's the second one. So and then the third one that we are really promoting is always mental health and mental well-being of the migrant workers. So we are looking into developing new content, new cultural based content for the workers to really see and be able to hopefully the word I want to use is treatment, but I don't think that's the right word. But at least in terms of mental health program, to be able to help them manage their emotions better, to help them understand that some level of stress, anxiety, fears, concerns, those are very different, and how do you address them individually or separately and not lump them all together. Things like that, yeah. So those are the new things that we're doing, and these are the few things that we can add for the next 1 2 years, actually.
All right. So I guess that's my final question for you. So before we end this episode, do you have any final remarks you want to share with our listeners?
Well, I think, it doesn't take a lot from us just to do good. It really just availing ourselves, even though if it's just half an hour a day. I'm sure most of us can avail ourselves for even just 30 minutes. I really encourage everyone to just come up and do a little bit goes a long way if all of us come together to do the good, for Singapore. That's always been what I desire to see.
I have a question. One final question. If there's anyone who wants to join HealthServe as a volunteer, where can they sign up?
Yeah, there are two ways. One is please write to us at volunteers@healthserve.org.sg, or you can go to our website. There's a volunteer page that you can just fill out the form, and our team will actually get back to you. There are just so many things that we can do together, to be honest with you. Examples like just going to the dormitories, talking to the workers, ensuring that they're okay. That's just one of the key things. And if that is a little bit too challenging, come to our clinic. We actually have always need for people to serve alongside our medical clinics, our dental clinics. We need quite a few dentists recently because of our wait list that we have, right? So yeah, good thing. So write to us or go to our website, or if you can't, you can just call me as well. So keep a number, I think.
All right. And with that, we've reached the end of our episode. Thank you again to Michael from HealthServe for this sharing session today. Thank you to our listeners as well for tuning in. We hope that you learned a thing or two today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! And that was today's episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and leave a review. It would mean a whole lot to us. You can also head over to our website at thunderquote.org to gain access to our free digital resources. See you next time!